Hey, what is going on, guys? I apologize for not uploading for the past 4 days, and that was because I was actually on a family trip where my whole family was basically invited to go to some like cottage trip. You know, not one that any of us own per se, but something that was like rented, I guess. But anyways, I promise to, I guess, kind of make up for it over the next week and hopefully stick to a proper schedule. But on the bright side, it kind of gave me more material to talk about. And just overall, this whole trip having to interact with, family and extended family kind of made me realize, just how friggin' difficult it is to normie LARP. So you might be wondering exactly what I mean by normie LARPing. And even sort of ironically, I've seen one or two comments asking if I'm LARPing or calling me a LARPer, a NEET LARPer, but in reality, it's actually the complete opposite. I'm a normie LARPer when I have to see other people who are normies, like family, for example, or I guess if I'm at the grocery store, or back when I was trying to get back into school. And the reason I engage in this, because some people might be also wondering, why don't you just admit that you're a NEET or open up about your struggles as a NEET, tell them what NEET means. And the reason for that is because, well, if you do this, then quite frankly, people, especially normies, lose their effing minds. And it would be nice if, maybe they could be a little bit more understanding. And, there's a handful of people out there who are like this, but the vast majority of people are extremely quick to judge. And, the moment you put a label on yourself, and like, for example, let's say you're having trouble with women and you don't get laid for like, I don't know, a couple of months. So you're technically an incel. But the moment you put that label on yourself, then all of a sudden, just like it's how the human brain works, like it just draws all these associations, and then in their minds are thinking, wow, this guy is fucking active shooter status, is about to go to my local school and put some bullet holes in the classroom. And that's not entirely true. Like, I'm pretty sure most people of that nature don't want to do that stuff. And at the same time, it's the same thing is true of NEETism. If you tell people you're NEET, or explain to them what NEET is, maybe they come up with the associations right then and there, or maybe they look up what it means to be NEET. But then regardless of what happens, they do come up with these associations, and they might think, oh wow, this guy is useless, drain on society, lazy, doesn't have any ambitions in life, which is, I guess, true of some NEETs, but it goes further. Like, these people deserve to die. They're useless. They're pieces of shit. It's their fault. They have bad character. There's nothing. They were just born bad, and we should just give up on them. Blah blah blah. All these. It's the same, thing basically. And given that I am still at the age where there still is a little bit of hope for me, I feel like revealing that I'm a NEET to people, especially in my family and extended family, well, that would be equivalent to me burning bridges with them. And maybe in the future I would possibly need their help, I guess. And as selfish as that sounds, that's just reality in my opinion. And I feel like at this point in my life, it really does no good to burn those bridges. So I feel like young NEETs out there listening, maybe hold off on telling significant others about your current status as a NEET, or at least don't put the label on it, but instead, maybe speak in these broader terms. Like, for example, I'm struggling with depression and anxiety. I have, I'm struggling to find work. I have difficulties talking with people, and it's making it speak in these broad terms, and avoid at all costs putting a label on yourself, because, well, that just leads to disaster regardless of what it is. Mental illness, even some health conditions, but yeah, that's my point. So that is my justification for not revealing my NEETdom. Maybe I'm full of shit, maybe I have bad character, but anyways, I digressed big time. Back to the main point. Well, yeah, so basically leads to a lot of awkward situations where, people are, well, one example of me normie LARPing would be, when obviously they kind of know that I'm not doing anything with my life, but, they always ask, so what are your plans? So are you planning to go back to school? What are you doing right now? And these are sort of questions that I guess they're trying to scout out if you're a NEET maybe, or if you're worth their attention or time, or they're gauging your social status and your potential utility to them. I guess it's biological, psychologically driven sort of behavior. But yeah, they ask these questions, and well, you know what I do? I just fucking lie my ass off. I go, oh yeah, I have plans. I've been looking into programs for this and that. I'm working on my music right now. I really want to make it big in the music industry, which I guess is kind of true, but I make up all these reasons and potential plans, like, oh yeah, I'm looking into becoming a psychologist. I'm looking at programs that allow me to be a counselor in 2 to 3 years versus having to take grad school. And I come up, I make the typical excuses, because I guess that's what they are. And well, they probably can sense that as bullshit, but it's better than just straight up telling them that you've given up, because the moment you tell them that it's over for you, then they just freaking lose their minds, and they mistreat you even more. And as a NEET, I feel like it's important to manage the external stress in your environment as much as possible, and introducing new ones, like for example, family members berating you, talking behind your back, or even just outright insulting you. Well, that's just an added stress that nobody wants, let alone NEET. So yeah, that's one example of me normie LARPing. Another is, well, given that I suffer from Asperger's and pretty severe social anxiety and a host of other mental illnesses, well, part of normie LARPing is, I guess, LARPing, live action role playing, being some neurotypical normal human being. And it's really difficult, because as these suffering from these conditions, well, it's really hard to fit into crowds, because I feel like most normies, they're able to do their normie socializing things, and it comes so naturally to them. Like, it's almost like instinct. Like, I can't fucking snap, that's a bad example, but they're like, well, okay, I'm probably gonna butcher this, and it's probably gonna be, cringe lol kind of material, but it's kind of like, oh, hey, buddy, yeah, oh, buddy, yeah, oh, yeah, did you see, how's the weather today? Oh, yeah, wow, the lake is so nice, the water, blah, 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 oh, yeah, oh, let me tell a little joke here, a little quip here and there, a little jokey joke, oh, yeah, it's fuck, okay, clearly I'm losing my damn mind, but I feel like you guys kind of know what I mean. Like, it's less about what they're saying, but it's more about, keeping the vibe, the energy, whatever you want to call it, like uplifted and, light and casual and whatnot. And, as someone suffering from depression sometimes, but mostly Asperger's firstly, and severe social anxiety, the social anxiety really gets in the way of keeping the vibe up, as well as the Asperger's, because that kind of controls facial expressions, because you're always sort of expected to smile and use the proper intonation, enunciate your words, and speak clearly, which I can't do when I'm in public. I mean, I can't even do kind of right now, let alone in public. And yeah, it's basically the same thing where it just, these things make it impossible to speak in that sort of light, like casual, like normie, like tone, and make the normally small talk and talk about random stuff and make these like little jokes every 2 or 3 sentences so that everybody's, oh, ha 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 ha, like fucking laughing and shit, which, you know, I kind of sound like I'm bashing them for doing this stuff, but you know, maybe I'm a little bit bitter, but in all truthfulness, like I'm not even trying to hide this. Like I really want to be that way. I really want to do these normie things. Like my life would be 10,000 billion times easier, 10 billion times easier if I could just do all the normie, like casual small talk, and talk about the semi fake deep but actually shallow things, like their feelings, or I don't know, is that deep? I guess maybe it is, I just can't comprehend it. Like talk about my feelings and oh yeah, oh blah blah blah, no, and do all the empathetic stuff. But what I end up sounding like is well, obviously I can do it to maybe like 5%, so I can go, oh yeah, haha, but it's even worse than what I'm doing now. It's like I can barely smile, but I can just do it barely, where I'm laughing all the jokes, and I do my nervous little social anxiety low status beta laugh every time I make a sentence, trying to qualify myself, I guess, and signal to everybody that I'm a low status human being and that the tribe shouldn't hurt me, all that stuff. But I'm able to do it to that extent, but it's just so fucking hard to do it properly, like do it 100% properly. And well, another example is really to do with like what actually is being said, because quite frankly, as someone, maybe it's my Asperger's, maybe it's my, I don't know, my whatever conditions, but I find it really extremely hard to relate to normies. So I kind of just have to pretend to agree along, or just pretend to be curious about the things that they're I guess into, because maybe it's out of politeness, like I don't know, like their EDM music and like yoga and stuff like that. And I maybe find it a little bit interesting, but not to the point where I could really engage in a deep conversation, or want to if I actually could. And also, it's not even that, it's like most of the time they're just talking about these small talk, like shallow topics, and commenting on things that are in the moment. Whereas my mind, with as neurotic as it is if I'm not worrying about being judged, which I am like 90% of the time, my mind's all over the place thinking about like random shit, or things that I'm actually interested in, like I don't know, like video games, anime, music, plugins, and like random shit like that. And yeah, that just makes it infinitely harder. So oftentimes I'll have these conversations, and maybe they'll talk about something that I could maybe contribute to, right? Like I don't know, like maybe politics, or like even something like facts about animals, because my brain is a repository for an infinite amount of useless information and vocabulary. So I might be able to chip in, but there's also the fact that if you go too deep in, then people think you're nerding out. And if you don't say it with enough excitement in your voice, then people like tune out and they go, oh yeah. And then they kind of tune out. You can kind of tell in their facial expressions. And it's just so effing discouraging, and just, yeah, like it makes me not want to talk to people, honestly. And also there's the fact that I just act like a complete creep a lot of the time because of my low, or partially due to the way I look and present myself, but also because of the way I act, because of years of bullying and bad social interactions where I act like low status. And if I were some extremely good-looking person, then maybe it wouldn't really matter. But the fact of the matter is I'm not. And well, when people witness the way I act, I basically give off like creep vibes. And it honestly just seems like everybody thinks that I'm gonna like go postal, or like they're always on edge and they're always like, oh yeah, like, you know, that kind of like fake smile that they're giving to, like, as if they're trying to appease you, as if I don't notice that they're creeped out by me. And, you know, I wish I wasn't so fucking like effed up and I could just do all the normie stuff, because if I could do all that normie stuff, then they would maybe act better towards me. And, you know, maybe that's something I need to work on, my fucking social skills. But how the hell do you practice social skills without talking to people? But when you talk to people, they at best give you this or they ignore you what you say. They ignore what I say sometimes. Like, they just straight up ignore what I'm saying. And, you know, it's just really freaking discouraging. So long story short, yeah, normie LARPing is incredibly difficult. But just the amount of effort that has to go into live action role playing a normie when you are, I guess, suffering from all these different conditions, even with just like the Asperger's, let alone what am I saying? What am I even saying? Like, you know, even just with like the Asperger's alone, it's already hard enough to LARP as a neurotypical person. But then with all the other stuff combined, and being NEET, not being jobless, because everybody talks about their, you know, their jobs and their careers, and oh, I'm doing this right now, yeah, and it's like these casual exchanges of societal value that people engage in, where they talk about, oh yeah, blah blah blah, oh yeah, I'm making blah 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 blah. Oh, so I taught a class today. My clients blah blah. Oh, my client, yada yada yada. You know, yeah. And then when you have nothing to say, and you tell them what you're doing, because sometimes I do actually take my music seriously, but you tell them that, and they're like, oh, nice, that's interesting, and then they don't ask the follow-up questions, whereas they would ask that to everybody else, because I don't know, maybe it's just I'm projecting my insecurities on people, but, you know, I think it's partly because, well, they don't see any value in what I'm doing. I'm not a cog in the machine. I'm not plugged into the matrix. I'm not contributing to society. I guess I'm not, but is society even worth contributing to? I guess it is partly, but, you know, I want to contribute to it in my way. Well, you know, maybe there's a pretty good argument for why it's not worth contributing to, but that's an entire different subject of discussion. Anyways, I'm going to end the video now. I've probably been talking for a while, and hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you like what you've seen, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and hopefully I'll be able to get back on the YouTube grind and put out some good content for y'all. And peace.